The first explosion hit at dawn. Commander Teho was drinking his morning coffee when the ground shook beneath his feet. The cup fell from his hand and shattered on the floor. Red lights filled the room as alarms screamed through every speaker in the colony. "Report!" he shouted into his communicator. "Sir, we have multiple contacts entering the atmosphere. At least 50 ships. They are not responding to our hails." Teho ran to the command center. His boots echoed on the metal floors as he pushed past workers who were running in all directions. When he reached the main room, he found his officers already at their stations. The large screen on the wall showed dozens of red dots descending toward their world. Outpost Kira 7 was a small human colony on the edge of explored space. It had 12,000 people living in it. Most of them were scientists, farmers, and their families. They had a small defense force of 200 soldiers. They were not prepared for war. "Who are they?" Teho asked. Lieutenant Yuna pulled up the ship signatures on her screen. Her face went pale. "Velnar Empire, sir. Battle cruisers and troop carriers." The room went silent. Everyone knew about the Velnar. They were a warrior species that believed in conquest and strength. They had destroyed 3 other colonies in the past year. No survivors were ever found. "Get me a line to Earth Command," Teho ordered. "And start moving all civilians to the underground bunkers." "Sir, the Velnar are jamming our long-range communications. We cannot reach Earth." Teho closed his eyes for a moment. He was 53 years old. He had served in the Terran military for 30 years before taking this quiet posting. He thought his fighting days were over. He was wrong. "What about the emergency beacon?" "That still works, sir. It runs on a different frequency." "Send it now. Full distress signal. Tell them we are under attack by Velnar forces and need immediate help." The signal went out into the darkness of space. It would take hours to reach the nearest Terran outpost. Help would take even longer to arrive. Teho knew they would have to survive on their own until then. The first wave of Velnar ships landed outside the colony walls. Through the cameras, Teho watched as thousands of alien soldiers poured out. They were tall creatures, nearly 8 feet high, with gray skin and 4 arms. Each arm held a weapon. Their eyes glowed yellow in the morning light. "Activate the shields," Teho commanded. A blue dome of energy rose around the colony. The Velnar stopped their advance and looked up at it. One of them, wearing golden armor that marked him as a leader, stepped forward. He pulled out a communication device. "Humans of this world," a deep voice came through the colony speakers. "I am General Morvac of the Velnar Empire. Your shields are impressive, but they will not save you. Lower them now and accept a quick death. Resist, and we will make your end slow and painful." Teho picked up his own communicator. "General Morvac, this is Commander Teho. This colony is under the protection of the Terran Republic. Any attack on us is an act of war against all of humanity. I suggest you leave now while you still can." Morvac laughed. The sound was like rocks grinding together. "Humans make such brave speeches. Your republic is far away. Your ships are nowhere near this system. You are alone, little creature, completely alone. We will see about that." Teho cut the communication. He turned to his officers. "How long can the shields hold?" Engineer Dongwu checked his readings. "At full power. Maybe 6 hours against their weapons. But sir, our power plant was not designed for this kind of stress. If they hit us with everything they have, it could be less. Then we make every minute count. Yuna, I want all soldiers at defensive positions. Dongwu, find a way to extend our shield time. Everyone else, help with the evacuation." The next few hours were chaos. Teho watched from the command center as his people worked. Mothers carried their children to the bunkers. Old men helped load supplies. Young soldiers checked their weapons with shaking hands. They all knew what was coming. The Velnar did not wait long. At midday, they began their attack. Bright beams of energy slammed into the shields from all directions. The blue dome flickered and sparked but held firm. Inside, The lights dimmed as power was redirected to the defense systems. Medic Hana ran between the bunkers, making sure everyone had water and food. She was young, only 25, but she had trained for emergencies. She never thought she would face something like this. "Are we going to die?" a little boy asked her. Hana knelt down and looked into his eyes. "The commander is very smart. He will keep us safe. And help is coming. We just have to be brave until then." She wished she believed her own words. By evening, the shields began to fail. The constant attack was too much. Cracks of light appeared in the blue dome. Taeho could hear the Velnar cheering outside. "Shield integrity at 30%. Dongwu reported. His voice was tired and scared. "Sir, I have done everything I can. We have maybe 2 hours left." Taeho nodded slowly. He had sent the distress signal 8 hours ago. Help could be days away. They did not have days. "Open a channel to General Morvac." The alien's face appeared on the screen. He was smiling, showing rows of sharp teeth. "Have you decided to accept your fate, human? I want to negotiate terms of surrender." The command center went silent. The officers stared at their commander with wide eyes. Taeho held up his hand to stop their protests. Morvac leaned forward. "Interesting. What do you offer?" "I will lower the shields if you promise to spare the civilians. Take me and my soldiers. Do what you want with us, but let the women and children live." The general thought for a moment. "You would die for these people?" Without hesitation. "How touching." Morvac shook his head. "But I must refuse. The Velnar do not need prisoners, and we do not leave witnesses. Your people will all die tonight, Commander. Every single one of them." The screen went dark. Taeho stood still for a long moment. Then he turned to his soldiers. They were looking at him, waiting for orders. Some had tears in their eyes. Others had faces made of stone. "We fight," he said simply. "We fight until our last breath. We make them pay for every step they take. And we give our people every extra second we can. Maybe it will be enough. Maybe help will come." For one, he picked up his rifle. It felt heavy in his old hands. "Today we show the galaxy what humans are made of." The shields fell at midnight. The Velnar poured through the gaps like a flood of death. And in the darkness, the people of Outpost Kira 7 prepared to make their last stand. The underground bunkers smelled like fear and sweat. Hana moved through the crowded tunnels, checking on the wounded. There were too many of them. When the shields fell, the Velnar had broken through the colony walls within minutes. The soldiers fought back hard, but they were outnumbered 20-1. Most of them died in the first hour. Commander Taeho had ordered a retreat to the bunkers. It was the only choice left. The tunnels ran deep under the colony. Built long ago as emergency shelters, the Velnar could not easily follow them down here. The passages were too narrow for their large bodies, but everyone knew it was only a matter of time. "How many did we lose?" Taeho asked quietly. Sergeant Jun Ki looked at his datapad. His left arm was in a sling, and blood stained his uniform. 147 soldiers dead. 32 wounded. We have 21 still able to fight. Taeho closed his eyes. So many good people gone. Fathers, mothers, brothers, sisters. All killed by creatures who saw humans as nothing more than insects. And the civilians? About 9,000 made it to the bunkers. The rest. Jun-Ki could not finish the sentence. 3,000 people had not made it. They were still up there, in the burning ruins of the colony. Taeho tried not to think about what the Velnar were doing to them. Above their heads, they could hear the aliens searching. Heavy footsteps shook dust from the ceiling. Sometimes there were screams that cut off suddenly. The children in the bunkers cried every time it happened. Their parents held them close and tried to be strong. Hana finished bandaging a young woman's wound and stood up. Her white medical coat was covered in red stains. She had been working for 6 hours straight without rest. "You need to sleep," Taeho told her. "I cannot. There are too many wounded. You will make mistakes if you are too tired. Rest for 1 hour. That is an order." Hana wanted to argue, but she knew he was right. Her hands were shaking from exhaustion. She found a quiet corner and sat down against the wall. Sleep took her within seconds. In the main bunker room, Taeho studied the maps on his screen. The bunker system was large, with many tunnels spreading out in all directions. Some of them led outside the colony walls. If they were careful, they might be able to sneak people out in small groups. But where would they go? The nearest human settlement was 300 miles away. The Velnar would hunt them down long before they reached it. "Sir," Engineer Dongwu called out. "I am picking up something strange on the sensors." Taeho walked over to his station. "What is it?" "A signal. Very faint. It is coming from..." Dongwu's fingers moved across the controls. His eyes went wide. "Sir, it is coming from outside the system. Something is approaching." Hope flickered in Taeho's chest. "Can you identify it?" "Not yet. The Velnar are still jamming most of our systems. But the signature, it does not match any Velnar ship in our database. Could it be a Terran ship? Maybe. I need more time to be sure." Taeho nodded. "Keep working on it. And keep this quiet for now. I do not want to give people false hope." Hours passed. The sounds from above grew less frequent as the Velnar finished their work in the colony. Then, without warning, a voice came through the bunker speakers. It was General Morvac. "Humans hiding in the ground like insects. Do you think your tunnels will save you? We have found your air vents. We have found your escape routes. In 12 hours, we will begin flooding your bunkers with poison gas. You will die, choking on your own blood." The message repeated 3 times before going silent. Panic spread through the bunkers. People started shouting and crying. Some tried to run, though there was nowhere to go. Children screamed for their parents. The wounded called out for help that no one could give. "Everyone calm down." Taeho's voice cut through the noise. He stood on a metal box so everyone could see him. "Listen to me. The Velnar want us to be afraid. They want us to give up. We will not give them that satisfaction. But we are going to die," someone shouted. "Maybe. But we have 12 hours. A lot can happen in 12 hours. Our distress signal went out. Help could be on its way right now. We are not dead yet." Slowly, the panic settled. People wiped their tears and held on to each other. They had no choice but to trust their commander. Taeho stepped down and walked to Dongwu's station. "Tell me you have good news." The engineer looked up with tired but excited eyes. "I identified the signal, sir. It is definitely Terran, a single warship. It will reach our system in approximately 10 hours. "One ship?" "Yes, sir. Just one." Taeho frowned. One ship against the entire Velnar fleet? That was suicide. What could one ship do against 50 enemy vessels? "What class is it?" Dongwu checked his readings. "I cannot tell from this distance. But it is moving fast. Faster than any ship I have seen before." Hana appeared at Taeho's side. She had woken up from her short rest. "Did I hear that right? Help is coming? One ship is coming. I do not know if that counts as help. One is better than none." Taeho looked at the young medic. Despite everything, she still had hope in her eyes. It made him feel ashamed of his own doubts. "You are right. We should tell the others." Word spread quickly through the bunkers. A Terran ship was on its way. The mood changed from despair to cautious hope. People started helping each other again. The wounded smiled through their pain. Even the children stopped crying. In his command ship, high above the planet, General Morvac received a report from his scanners. A single human vessel was approaching. He looked at the data and laughed. "One ship?" he said to his officers. "The humans send one ship to face my fleet? This is an insult. Should we intercept it, General?" "No. Let them come. I want to destroy it in front of the planet so the humans below can watch. They should see that their hope was meaningless." Morvac walked to his window and looked down at the burning colony. Smoke rose from the ruins like dark prayers to an uncaring sky. The humans had fought better than expected, but in the end, they were still weak creatures. Tomorrow they would all be dead. Sir, an officer called out. We have identified the human ship. It is a strike carrier. Designation unknown. Strike carrier? Morvac turned around. Those usually carry fighters and ground troops. Yes, General. This one appears to be carrying drop pods. Drop pods are for planetary assault. Why would they bring ground forces against my fleet? The officer had no answer. Neither did Morvac. It made no sense. One ship could not win a space battle against 50. And ground troops were useless in space, unless... Morvac looked back at the planet, at the bunkers where the humans were hiding, at the soldiers who had fought so fiercely before retreating underground. They are not coming to fight the fleet, he realized. They are coming to reinforce the ground. But General, we control the entire colony. What can a few ground troops do? Morvac did not answer. Something cold was growing in his chest. Something he had not felt in a very long time. He did not know what it was. He had never felt fear before. Double the guards around the bunker entrances, he ordered, and tell all ground forces to prepare for combat. Something is coming. 10 hours away, a Terran warship burned through space at impossible speed. In its belly, 40 warriors sat in silence, checking their weapons and armor. They were the 77th Battalion, the Ghost Reapers, the most feared soldiers in human history, and they were very, very angry. The Terran warship entered the system like a bullet from a gun. It did not slow down. It did not try to hide. It flew straight toward the Velnar fleet with its weapons charging and its engines burning white-hot. On every human scanner in the bunkers below, it appeared as a single bright point of defiance. They are insane, Dongwu whispered. Commander Taeho watched the screen in silence. The warship was called the Iron Promise. It was smaller than most of the Velnar cruisers. By all logic, it should turn around and run. Instead, it was accelerating. General Morvac watched from his command ship with growing confusion. What are they doing? They cannot possibly think they can win. General, the human ship is launching objects. 40 small contacts detected. Missiles? No, sir. They appear to be drop pods. Morvac's eyes went wide. The drop pods were not aimed at his fleet. They were aimed at the planet below. The humans were ignoring the space battle entirely. They were sending their soldiers directly to the ground. Shoot them down, Morvac ordered. All ships, target those pods now. The Velnar fleet opened fire. Hundreds of energy beams cut through the darkness of space. Some found their targets. Drop pods exploded in bright flashes of light. But the pods were small and fast and scattered wide. Most of them made it through. Inside one of those pods, squad leader Quan felt the heat of atmospheric entry burning around him. Warning lights flashed red. The pod shook so hard his teeth rattled. Through his helmet display, he watched as 3 of his brothers died in the pods next to him. It did not matter. The mission was clear. Reach the ground. Find the survivors. Kill every Velnar that stood in the way. Quan was 38 years old. He had been a Marine for 20 years. He had fought in 12 different wars across 6 different planets. He had killed enemies with his hands, his weapons, and once with nothing but a rock. The scars on his body told stories that would give normal men nightmares. But he was not a normal man. None of the Ghost Reapers were. They were the best soldiers humanity had ever created. Trained from youth to be perfect killing machines, enhanced with technology that made them stronger, faster, and harder to kill than any other human alive. The pod slammed into the ground with enough force to crack stone. Quan did not wait for the dust to settle. He kicked open the door and stepped out into the burning ruins of Outpost Kira 7. Around him, other pods were landing. Some crashed into buildings. Others hit open ground. Marines emerged from each one, their black armor gleaming in the firelight. They moved without speaking, forming into groups through hand signals alone. Ghost Reapers, report. Quan said into his helmet radio. Team Alpha ready, 7 strong. Team Beta ready, 6 strong. Team Gamma ready, 8 strong. More reports came in. By the time the count was done, Quan knew he had 31 Marines on the ground. 9 had died in the drop. 9 good soldiers gone. before the real fighting even began. The Velnar would pay for each one. All teams, move to the bunker entrances. We clear a path and extract the civilians. Kill anything that is not human. All low. The Marines moved through the destroyed colony like shadows. They made no sound despite their heavy armor. Their weapons were ready, but they did not fire. Not yet. First, they needed to find the enemy. They did not have to look long. A Velnar patrol rounded a corner and came face to face with Team Alpha. There were 10 aliens, each 8 feet tall, with 4 arms full of weapons. They saw the humans and raised their guns to fire. They were too slow. The Marines moved faster than the eye could follow. In the time it took the Velnar to aim, 7 of them were already dead. The other 3 tried to run. They made it 3 steps before they fell. Contact neutralized, Team Alpha reported. Moving to objective. Across the colony, similar scenes played out. The Velnar had thousands of soldiers on the ground. They had better weapons and superior numbers. It did not matter. The Ghost Reapers cut through them like a blade through paper. General Morvac watched the reports coming in with growing horror. His soldiers were dying by the dozens every minute. The human Marines were everywhere and nowhere at once. They appeared from shadows, killed everything in sight, and disappeared before reinforcements could arrive. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "There are only 30 of them. General, these are not normal human soldiers. Their combat effectiveness is beyond anything in our records. They are monsters." Morvac grabbed the officer by the throat. "The Velnar do not fear monsters. Send everyone, every soldier on the planet. Surround them and crush them." "Yes, General." On the ground, Quan reached the main bunker entrance. It was guarded by 50 Velnar soldiers with heavy weapons and barricades. They had heard the fighting and were ready for an attack. Team Beta, Team Gamma, circle around. Hit them from the sides. Team Alpha, with me. The Marines moved into position. Quan counted down on his fingers. 3, 2, 1. All 3 teams attacked at the same moment. The Velnar opened fire with everything they had. Energy beams filled the air with deadly light. But the Marines did not stop. Their armor absorbed some hits and deflected others. They ran through the storm of weapons like it was nothing but rain. Quan reached the first barricade and jumped over it. A Velnar swung a blade at his head. He caught it with one hand, pulled the alien close, and put a bullet through its skull. Then he was moving again, his rifle firing in short controlled bursts. Around him, his team did the same. They moved together like parts of a single machine. Where one Marine fired, another covered. Where one fought, another watched his back. 20 years of training made them perfect partners in death. The battle lasted 4 minutes. When it was over, 50 Velnar lay dead on the ground. The Marines had taken only 2 wounded, neither seriously. "Bunker entrance is clear," Quan reported, moving inside. In the darkness of the tunnels, the survivors heard the fighting above. The gunfire and explosions shook dust from the ceiling. Some people screamed. Others prayed. Everyone waited. Then the sound stopped. Heavy footsteps echoed through the passages. They were coming closer. Teho raised his rifle, ready to die fighting. His remaining soldiers formed a line in front of the civilians. This was it. The Velnar had finally found a way in. A figure appeared in the darkness. It was tall and covered in black armor. Its helmet had no face. Just a smooth, dark surface that reflected nothing. "Commander Teho?" A voice came from the figure. Teho did not lower his weapon. "Who are you?" The figure reached up and removed its helmet. Underneath was a human face, Korean features, strong and hard, with eyes that had seen too much death. Squad leader Quan. 77th Battalion. The Ghost Reapers. "We are here to get you out." 77th Reapers. "Anna Majors. We are here to get you out." Tears ran down Teho's face. He could not help it. "You came. You actually came. We got your signal. Sorry it took so long." Quan looked at the crowd of survivors behind the commander. Women, holding children. Old men with frightened eyes, wounded soldiers who could barely stand. These are all of them? About 9,000. The rest. Taeho could not finish. I understand. Quan put his helmet back on. Stay behind us. We will clear a path to the extraction point. Anyone who can carry a weapon, stay close to the civilians and protect them. What about the Velnar above? There are thousands of them. Inside his helmet, Quan smiled. It was not a nice smile. Not for long. The extraction began at first light. Quan led the survivors through the tunnels toward the western exit. His Marines moved ahead, clearing every passage before the civilians entered. Behind them, Sergeant Junki and the remaining colony soldiers guarded the back. It was a slow and careful process. Above ground, the situation had changed completely. The Velnar army was in chaos. Reports came in from every section of the colony about human soldiers appearing from nowhere and killing everyone in sight. Patrols disappeared without a trace. Guard posts went silent one after another. Fear spread through the alien forces like a disease. General Morvac stood in his command center, watching his army fall apart. He had never seen anything like this. The Velnar were warriors. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They did not run from a fight, but his soldiers were running now. General, Team 14 has stopped responding. General, we have lost contact with the Southern District. General, soldiers are abandoning their posts. They say the humans are demons who cannot be killed. Morvac slammed his fist on the table. Cowards! All of them. These are just humans. They bleed. They die. Find them and destroy them. Sir, we have tried. Every time we send forces to engage, they do not come back. The general's 4 hands curled into fists. He had 5,000 soldiers on the ground, against 30 humans, and he was losing. Outside the colony walls, the Ghost Reapers were doing what they did best. They did not fight like normal soldiers. They did not hold positions or follow predictable patterns. They moved constantly, striking where the enemy was weakest and disappearing before they could respond. Marine Subin led Team Beta through the Eastern District. They had killed 80 Velnar in the past hour and had not lost a single soldier. Now they were hunting down a group of enemies who had taken shelter in a warehouse. 4 contacts inside, her scanner showed. 2 at the front, 2 at the back. Jinwoo, Hosung, take the back door. Rest of you, with me. They moved in perfect silence. The Velnar inside were talking to each other in worried voices. They knew the humans were coming. They just did not know from where. Subin kicked in the front door and shot both guards before they could turn around. At the same moment, Jinwoo and Hosung burst through the back. The remaining 2 Velnar raised their hands in surrender. Please, one of them said in broken Terran. We surrender. Mercy. Subin looked at the alien. It was the first time she had heard a Velnar beg. For a moment, she almost felt something like pity. Then she remembered the bodies she had seen in the colony streets. Women, children, families, slaughtered without mercy. The Velnar had shown no kindness to the innocent people of Outpost Kira 7. You should have thought about mercy before you killed civilians. 2 shots ended the conversation. Team Beta, moving to next objective. Across the colony, similar scenes played out again and again. The Velnar tried to organize a defense. They set up strong points and called for their soldiers to hold the line. It did not work. The Ghost Reapers simply went around the strong points and killed everyone else. By midday, the alien army had lost over 1,000 soldiers. The survivors were retreating toward the center of the colony where General Morvac had established his command post. They huddled together like frightened animals, jumping at every shadow. This cannot be happening, Morvac said to no one in particular. This cannot be happening. ODZ. 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 His officers exchanged nervous looks. They had never seen their general like this. Morvac the Conqueror. who had destroyed 3 human colonies without losing a single battle, was falling apart. "General, we should consider withdrawal," one officer suggested. "Our losses are too heavy. If we stay, we will all die." "Withdrawal?" Morvac turned on him with rage in his eyes. "The Velnar do not run from insects. Sir, these are not insects. They are something else entirely." Morvac wanted to argue, but he could not. The officer was right. These humans were different from any he had faced before. They fought like warriors from ancient legends. They showed no fear, no hesitation, and no mercy. "Fine," he said at last. "Begin evacuation. Get as many soldiers to the ships as possible. We will return with a larger force." The order went out across the colony. Velnar soldiers started moving toward the landing zones where their transport ships waited. Some ran openly, not caring who saw their fear. Others tried to maintain formation but kept looking over their shoulders. Quan heard the enemy movement through his helmet sensors. He smiled inside his armor. The Velnar were retreating. But the battle was not over yet. "All teams, converge on the landing zones. Do not let them escape." The Ghost Reapers changed direction, moving to cut off the enemy retreat. They were tired after hours of non-stop fighting, but their bodies had been trained to ignore such weakness. They would rest when the job was done. Meanwhile, the civilian evacuation continued. Teho led the survivors toward a clearing outside the colony where the Terran warship Iron Promise had landed. The ship had fought its way through the Velnar fleet, taking heavy damage but surviving. Hana helped carry a wounded child as they walked. The boy had been shot in the leg during the initial attack. He had not cried once during the entire journey. He just held on to her and watched the Marines protecting them with wide eyes. "Are they really human?" he whispered. Hana looked at the armored figures walking ahead. They moved with a grace that seemed impossible for their size. Their weapons never stopped moving, scanning for threats in every direction. "Yes," she said. "They are human. The very best of us." At the landing zone, the Velnar transport ships were loading soldiers as fast as possible. Hundreds of aliens crowded around the ramps, pushing and shoving to get on board. Discipline had completely collapsed. Then the Ghost Reapers arrived. Team Alpha hit them from the north, Team Beta from the east, Team Gamma from the west. The Velnar were caught in a crossfire with nowhere to run. "Mercy!" voices screamed in the chaos. "We surrender! Please, mercy!" The Marines did not answer with words. General Morvac watched from his command ship in orbit as his ground forces were destroyed. The cameras showed everything. His soldiers dying by the hundreds, his empire's finest warriors running like scared children, and through it all, the black armored humans advancing without pause. "Get us out of here," Morvac ordered. "Now, General, we have not finished loading the transports." "I do not care. Leave them. We must warn the Empire about these creatures." The command ship's engines fired. It began moving away from the planet, leaving thousands of soldiers behind to die. On the ground, Quan saw the enemy ship rising into the sky. He watched it climb higher and higher until it was just a small dot against the clouds. Then he returned his attention to the battle in front of him. The last Velnar soldiers on the planet were surrounded. Some tried to fight. They died quickly. Others threw down their weapons and begged for their lives. They received the same answer as their comrades in the warehouse. By sunset, it was over. 5,000 Velnar soldiers had landed on outpost Kira 7. Less than 100 managed to escape on the transports. The rest lay dead across the colony, killed by 31 human Marines. Quan stood in the middle of the landing zone, surrounded by enemy bodies. His armor was dented and scorched from dozens of hits. His rifle had run out of ammunition long ago. He had finished the last few fights with his combat knife. "Commander Teho," he said into his radio. "The colony is secure. You can bring the civilians to the extraction point now." A tired but relieved voice came back. "Thank you, Squad Leader." "Thank you for everything." Quan did not respond. Thanks were not necessary. This was simply his job, but there was one thing left to do. The Velnar general had escaped. He was still out there, running back to his empire. Quan intended to follow. General Morvac thought he was safe. His command ship had escaped the planet and was racing toward the edge of the system. In a few hours, it would reach the jump point and return to Velnar space. He would report his failure to the High Council, accept whatever punishment they gave him, and spend the rest of his life trying to forget what he had seen. Those black-armored humans, those demons who killed without mercy. They haunted his thoughts like ghosts. "General, we are detecting a pursuit." Morvac turned to his scanner officer with disbelief. "Pursuit? From what?" "A small shuttle. It launched from the human warship and has been following us since we left orbit. It is catching up. That is impossible. Our engines are faster than any human shuttle." "I know, sir, but it is happening." Morvac walked to the screen and watched the small dot growing closer. The shuttle was tiny compared to his command ship. It should not be able to keep pace with them, let alone gain ground. Yet there it was, cutting through space like a hungry predator. "How many life signs on board?" "One, sir. Just one." A single human was chasing down a Velnar warship. Morvac wanted to laugh at the absurdity of it. But he had seen what one human could do today. He was not laughing. "Destroy it. All weapons. Fire now." The command ship unleashed its arsenal. Missiles and energy beams shot toward the approaching shuttle. The space around it lit up with explosions and deadly light. When the fire cleared, the shuttle was still coming. "How?" Morvac screamed. "How is it still alive?" "It is too small and fast, sir. Our weapons cannot track it properly." The shuttle reached the command ship and attached itself to the hull like a tick on an animal. Morvac heard the sound of metal cutting through metal. The human was burning through his ship's armor. All security teams to Section 7. Now, 30 Velnar guards rushed to meet the invader. They were the best soldiers on the ship, loyal to Morvac for years. They set up defensive positions in the corridor and waited. The cutting stopped. Silence filled the passage. The guards gripped their weapons tighter. Then the hull exploded inward. Quan came through the hole like a force of nature. His armor was damaged and smoking from the weapons fire it had absorbed during the chase. His rifle hung empty at his side. He held only his knife. It was enough. He moved through the guards like water through stones. His blade found the gaps in their armor, the weak points in their defenses. Bodies fell around him one after another. The Velnar fired their weapons, but he was never where they aimed. He was always behind them, beside them, inside their reach. 20 seconds. 30 bodies. Quan stood alone in the corridor, surrounded by the fallen. His breathing was heavy but steady. His heart beat slow and strong. "General Morvac," he said into the ship's communication system, "I am coming for you." Morvac heard the message on the bridge. His remaining officers looked at him with fear. Some were already trying to reach the escape pods. "Stay at your posts," Morvac commanded. "We are soldiers of the Empire. We do not run from one human." But his words sounded hollow even to himself. He had run from the planet. He had abandoned thousands of his soldiers. He was not a warrior anymore. He was just a frightened creature, hoping to survive. Heavy footsteps echoed through the ship. They were getting closer. Morvac could hear doors being forced open, locks being broken. The human was coming, and nothing could stop him. The bridge doors exploded off their frames. Quan stepped through, his knife still dripping with the blood of Velnar soldiers. The bridge officers screamed and ran. They pushed past each other, trying to reach the exits. In moments, only Morvac remained. The general stood at his command chair, trying to appear brave. His 4 hands held 4 different weapons aimed at the human. He was shaking so badly the guns rattled against his armor. "Stay back," Morvac said. "I am a general of the Velnar Empire. I am worth more alive than dead. Your people will want to question me." Quan continued walking forward. His boots left bloody prints on the floor. "I can give you information, fleet positions, attack plans, everything you need to protect your colonies." The human said nothing. He kept coming. "Please." The word came out as a whisper. "Please. I beg you. Show mercy. Quan stopped. He was close enough to touch the general now. Close enough to see the terror in those yellow alien eyes. Did you show mercy to the people of Kira 7? Quan asked. His voice was calm, almost gentle. I was following orders. The High Council commanded. Did you show mercy to the children? Morvac's mouth opened, but no words came out. He thought about the families his soldiers had slaughtered, the screams he had ignored, the bodies he had walked past without a second glance. Humans are strange creatures, Quan continued. We can forgive many things. We can even forgive our enemies when the war is over. But there is one thing we never forgive. He raised his knife. You hurt our children. Morvac fired all 4 weapons at once. The beams hit Quan's armor and burned through in places. Blood appeared on his side, his shoulder, his leg, but he did not fall. He did not even slow down. His knife came down once. General Morvac, conqueror of worlds, fell to the floor and did not move again. Quan stood over the body for a long moment. The pain from his wounds was sharp and hot. He could feel blood running down inside his armor. It did not matter. The mission was complete. He walked to the communication station and opened a channel. This is Squad Leader Quan. General Morvac is dead. The Velnar command ship is under my control. Back on the Iron Promise, cheers filled every room. Commander Teho stood with the survivors in the cargo bay, listening to the announcement. Around him, people were crying and hugging each other. They were alive. Against all odds, they had survived. Hana sat against a wall with the wounded boy sleeping in her lap. She looked at the stars through a small window and wondered what the future would bring. The Velnar Empire would send more ships. They would want revenge for this defeat. The war was far from over. But today, humanity had won. Today, 31 Marines had faced an army and destroyed it. Today, the galaxy had learned that humans were not easy prey. 3 days later, the survivors of Outpost Kira 7 arrived at Terran Station Alpha. They were greeted by crowds of people who had heard the story. The tale was spreading across the galaxy, how a small colony had held against impossible odds, how a single warship had raced to save them, how the Ghost Reapers had turned the tide. Commander Teho gave a speech to the gathered reporters. He talked about the courage of his people, the sacrifice of his soldiers, and the heroes who came from the stars to rescue them. Squad Leader Quan did not attend the speech. He was in the medical bay, recovering from his wounds. When reporters tried to interview him, he refused. We just did our job, was all he said. Nothing special, but the galaxy knew better. The Velnar knew better. And when the next enemy thought about attacking a human colony, they would remember this day. They would remember the black armored warriors who showed no fear and no mercy. They would remember what happened when you made humanity angry. In the medical bay, Quan closed his eyes and let sleep take him. He would heal soon. And when he did, there would be more battles to fight, more innocent people to save, more enemies to finish. Because that was what Terran Marines did. That was what humans did. And they would never stop.